Wasabi guys, coming back at you all with another Commander Secrets video. Been a little while since I did the last one, but we are definitely going to continue this series, and it seems like a good idea from now on is to just poll these ideas. So if you're unfamiliar, I do run these polls with Patreon, so if you want to have a say on what I do, that's a pretty cool way of doing it, and you also get the chance to support the channel as well. As you can see with this poll, I had a few options, but it looks like Norin the Wary was the most popular by far. A lot of people just don't know what the guy does or why he's good at all. I mean, he seems so simple, seems so innocent. All he really is just a 1-mana 2/1. Whenever a player plays a spell or a creature attacks, you remove him from the game and then return him to play under its owner's control at the end of turn. So that's it. How could that possibly be good? I hear so many people just hate on this guy because they don't like him. They think that's terrible. And that's even people in Modern who underestimate this guy. But this guy in Commander, there are so many people that would say, why would you want him as a commander? Well, I'm going to tell you why. There are a ton of good cards that are going to interact with this guy. And yes, a lot of that is going to be on ETBs. Because how many people are going to not play a spell or attack with a creature just to keep this guy from blinking? There might be some situations late game where they might not do it, but to go an entire game without doing that for the fear of blinking this guy, there has to be some power there. We're going to start it off here by looking at one card that I think is very cool, very underrated in Commander, and that is Honor-Worn Shaku. You have to tap down a legendary creature in order to tap it for 2 colorless mana. So in this deck, it is like a better Worn Power Stone. So if you want to use Norin the Wary just to tap him down, he's not going to be attacking or tapping for any other reason, so you might as well use him in order to get some more mana. The only way that could go wrong is if he already blinks before you get the chance to use the Shaku, but chances are you're going to use the Shaku first. And another brilliant card that's also a colorless artifact that I think is worth noting is Altar of the Brood. This is such a unique, weird win con that I don't think a lot of people play in Commander outside of mill decks especially, but in a deck like this, I've actually gotten close to milling people out. It's not the easiest thing to do, but having a creature that enters the battlefield basically everybody's turn means that everybody's going to be milling at least one card, and this is in addition to them drawing cards, drawing multiple cards. Milling them out is definitely a threat, maybe not the best threat that we could have in red, but it's still something worth noting. Now another cool artifact that also synergizes with the creatures entering the battlefield is Genesis Chamber. This does work for everybody, so everybody's creatures that enter the battlefield, as long as they're non-token, they're going to be getting a 1/1 mirror. So you are going to be helping out some players that play a ton of creatures, but that is nothing compared to how many you're going to be getting each turn cycle. For Norin the Wary blinking coming back into play, you're going to have an army of these little mirror tokens, and if you have anything else that synergizes with ETBs outside of this card, which we do, it's going to make your deck work even better. So this is by far one of the biggest staples in any Norin the Wary deck, if I had to say so. We of course have Cloudstone Curio. We have yet another artifact that works well with creatures entering the battlefield. You see this a lot in Animar decks because that deck is all about being able to get Eldrazi out there, comboing, and then replaying Eldrazi over and over again because Animar has insane cost reduction like that. If you have 2 Eldrazi's, you could pretty much just go infinite off their cast triggers and likely win the game that way. But with this deck, it's not as powerful, but you still have a lot of ways to take advantage of creature ETBs. Something like a Siege Gang commander that might seem rather weak and innocent, maybe for another format, but being able to replay it over and over again means that you're getting more tokens, means you're getting more ETBs, and it doesn't just have to work with that, but it could work with other good creatures that have awesome ETBs besides just getting you more tokens. So anyway, getting multiple creatures back to your hand with Norin in an entire turn cycle I think is pretty sweet. And of course, since we're talking about good artifacts that synergize with creatures entering the battlefield, why not mention Panharmonicon? Going to double the triggers that happen for stuff like Genesis Chamber, Cloudstone Curio, and a whole bunch of other cards that are going to work well. This does also work with artifacts, but still, getting double ETB triggers in this type of deck, it is red ETB. You might as well call it what it is. Take advantage of it while you can. 4 colorless mana to get double the triggers I think is amazing. And another cool thing if you want to go with this kind of janky route, but there is a human tribal sub-theme that you see in some decks. This is most likely going to see play in Modern, but it is definitely something worth considering. We do have humans that interact with other humans entering the battlefield, specifically Champion of the Parish and Thalia's Lieutenant. Whenever another human enters the battlefield, battlefield, you put a +1/+1 counter on each of them. It's not the strongest thing in Commander, I'll admit, but it's definitely seeing some play in Modern, because they are a bunch of 1-drops. Thalia's Lieutenant is a 2-drop, but still. We also have Soul Warden if you want to go with any sort of ETBs. You could also include Soul's Attendant. There's other good Soul Sister cards. But the whole purpose is just taking advantage of Norin the Wary entering the battlefield. And why not also include Mentor of the Meek? You're going to be able to find a way to draw more cards off of him. Just pay 1 generic each time he's entering the battlefield. He's power 2 or less. He's going to work out well. I definitely think it's a cool thing to consider. Maybe not the strongest synergies, but now we're definitely moving on to the strongest. And we of course have a bunch of red enchantments that deal damage, fool around with other stuff when creatures enter the battlefield. We of course have Impact Tremors and Perforos. Probably the best examples. Perforos especially, 2 damage to each opponent whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control. So, take into consideration each opponent playing spells on their turn, Norin the Wary coming back into play their end step. That's 2 damage a turn. If everybody is playing spells or attacking with creatures, this is going to happen. They have to find a way to deal with Perforos, which is an indestructible enchantment, so not the easiest thing to get rid of. So they're put on a little clock there. I wouldn't say it's a really quick clock, but 2 damage each player's turn, it's going to add up pretty quickly, especially if you have other stuff like Impact Tremors. Moving on to even more of this, we have Pandemonium, Vigilante Justice, even more cards that are going to work out well with Norin the Wary entering the battlefield. These are a little bit worse. Pandemonium is kind of like a Warstorm Surge, which you could also play, by the way. Hopefully you're the one who has the most ETBs with Norin, so you can deal the most damage. And Vigilante Justice is a little bit worse. You're probably not going to want to play it, but it's worth noting because it's whenever a human enters the battlefield. And we of course have, for all of you red deck lovers, we have Outpost Siege. So if you don't want to get the card advantage option, you could definitely go with whenever a creature leaves the battlefield, you deal 1 damage. So there's definitely options there. But this is basically what you can expect to see in a lot of Norin the Wary decks. All you want is a good setup. You want good enchantments, good artifacts that are going to work well with the ETB trigger. This is mono red ETB. If you have other good creatures that work well with ETB triggers, might as well throw them in there as well. There's a whole bunch. Good colorless ones too. You of course have Kiki Jiki, so you can get more copies. Fool around with other ETBs as well. And then we have the most powerful one, I would have to say, as far as synergies go with Norin the Wary. That is Confusion in the Ranks. This is a really, really chaotic card. Sees play in a ton of chaos decks outside of just Norin the Wary. But being able to steal an opponent's creature in exchange for Norin, which really doesn't matter because Norin's always going to come into play back under your control. You're going to be able to steal all of your opponent's good creatures, and it really doesn't matter because each time they want to steal something back, Norin's just going to blink itself again, come back at our end step, and then we're going to just take that creature again. So even if our opponents think that they're hurting us, they're really helping us, making this process go much quicker. I must add that this is a huge pain for anybody who doesn't like chaos, so don't expect players to not feel tempted to scoop once you play a card like this, because it also works for enchantments, it works for artifacts as well. And the final bit to this video is going to really just take into consideration the nastiness that we can do using cards like Obliterate and Decree of Annihilation. Both of these cards are going to do something really, really funny. If you have a Perforos, Impact Tremors, any of those crazy enchantments, these do not destroy enchantments. So if you want to go all out, destroy all lands, destroy everything else, what you should have left is a Norin the Wary that is already blinked out of play. You have these enchantments that are already still in play, waiting for your opponents to set up again. They're going to be taking a ton of damage while all of their stuff has been exiled, removed from the game, destroyed, gone, out of here. Norin the Wary is still blinking himself back into play over and over again, triggering your Impact Tremors, triggering your Pandemonium, triggering your Outpost Siege, triggering your Perforos, your Vigilante Justice, all this other stuff is going to be dealing them a ton of damage. Even if it comes down to you just attacking with Norin just to trigger his exile, it's still worth it. But anyway, guys, let me know what you think about this video. I really enjoyed doing this one. Norin the Wary is very underrated, very unique, something that a lot of people toss aside when considering commander options. But he's definitely one of the more unique, one of the more insanely fun commander options that I've ever had the pleasure of playing. So let me know any cards that you think are worthy for a Commander Secrets series, and I will definitely take those into consideration. But as always, you guys have a wonderful day. Void here signing off. See you all next video.